Midakyapi. Welcome to 7 Gen Voices, an ongoing dialogue that promotes solutions that are grounded in the wisdom of our ancestors and benefit the next 7 generations. The 7 Gen movement is unifying people like you and me who want to create a better world for future generations.
Midakyapi, Tahilapi Maniwi Imachapi. Welcome to episode 4 of 7 Gen Voices. My name is Jillian Wan. On today's episode, we're sitting down with Sage Fastdog, who is the Education Director with the Sicangu CDC. Also joining us is Aaron Epps, who is the project lead on this. Aaron also plays a huge role in creating weekly content for this podcast. He does a lot of work behind the scenes, so it's just really awesome to see him on the other side of the camera today. Sage, I'd like to first start off by congratulating you on being elected to the Todd County School Board. That is exciting news, not only for you, but also our youth, because I know you're going to do great things. Why don't you start off by telling us exactly how you're feeling in this moment in regards to being elected?
Tokeyahci na Midakyapi. Lakota shunkaluza imachapi na chante washte hoyankitacha. First, I just wanted to just send my voice out in a good way to everybody, Sage Fastdog, and I feel pretty. I feel good about. I share with a lot of people with this focus on children and what we can do. I feel good about that. It makes you feel good that there's people that care about that. So I feel good about that.
Awesome. Well, it's really good to hear because, again, I know you got big plans and you're going to do a lot of things to empower our youth and just to help them create a better future for themselves. And speaking of the youth, there's been rumors about a new school opening here on Rosebud. Are these rumors true?
Yes, you're probably talking about the Wakanyeja Tokeyahci Lakota Immersion School, elementary immersion school. So it's a school that we started last year, and we had a timeline set to launch our school in the fall of 2020, and we're ready to open up our doors. We have our student applications ready online at sicangocdc.org. So yeah, it's going to be it's going to start out with kindergarten. We'll start out with 12 students, and we'll be working with the Boys and Girls Club. So we'll be sharing a facility with the Missions Boys and Girls Club.
Awesome. Can you expand a little bit on the Lakota language immersion side of it? Are there going to be Lakota teachers, or Lakota speaking teachers, I should say?
Yeah, so the intention is to get Lakota educators that are either second language learners or they're fluent speakers. Either way, we'll have both inside the classroom so that we can create some authentic dialogue, and then so that kids can see how the language is contextualized. And we just want to make the classroom just really rich in language, tons of language that kids can hear, they can practice, and so yeah, it'll be set up that way so the kids will be able to have a either fluent speaker working with them or in second language teacher working with them.
And obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic. So what does it look like in the fall semester? Is it going to be face-to-face schooling? Is it going to be virtual? How is that going to work?
That is a really good question. I know that a lot of schools throughout the United States and even the world are trying to figure out what to do. So we're going to move forward. We're going to see what we can do virtually, and then we're going to see what we can do with working. If there's space and it's safe enough to have in-person teaching times, or if we can record audio and video of what we're doing, and we're going to find a way to get out there and start this school in that way. We're going to keep going.
And just to give us a kind of an outlook or what to expect, if I were to visit the school or if someone else were to visit the school, what would I see and how is that different from the current school system?
Well, you're definitely gonna see uh, you'll see kids learning. You'll hear kids speaking Lakota, and you're gonna hear them speaking English too, because they're more than likely they're gonna be coming from their homes where they speak English. So you're gonna see it. You're gonna see them just learning this language, and you're going to see them learning how to express themselves in Lakota. So they're going to be using emotions, because at kindergarten they're really learning social skills too. And it, it'll also be a place um, where I know there's been small places that have tried immersion before, um, but largely you're going to see this action taken by community members to retain the language, sustain it, and have a vision to take the kids to learn their language, at the same time be academically prepared for secondary education, and working on personal wellness with the kids. So lots of social skills. I'm pretty excited about it. It's definitely new, so um, I'm pretty sure going to make some mistakes here and there, but it's part of what's got to happen to get a school like this started, for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. Just hearing you talk about all the things that would be different. I mean, it's so necessary for our youth here, but why would you say a school like this is necessary, especially here on the reservation?
Well, my first language was Lakota, and because I wasn't able to articulate that I needed that in going to school, and now that I'm older and I realized that after I went to school and just did what I could to try to master the English language, and then also the educational language that you have to know in with teaching, I realized that we could very well have an immersion school like this, and our kids could be successful both in learning concepts um, and also in speaking Lakota. So they could be bilingual, and they could still be successful in a college or in a career. So that's why it's important to move forward in starting this school, because it's if we don't start now, it just worries me, because most of our fluent speakers are in like 60 years old and above, and I know there's only like 3 that are identified under the age of 30, and then 0 under the age of 18. So it's gonna be an honor, but it's also I think it's just a calling to get started with it.
Mhm. Yeah, and we know you're a fluent speaker, just as you said. And as we all know, English is the dominant language here on the reservation and in the United States. So, why is it so important to learn Lakota?
So why is it important to learn Lakota? It's again for myself and for those that are that speak Lakota. It's important to take back spaces that belong to you, and um, for majority of my youth and then my adulthood, it was trying to find a space to begin to speak again. And if you grew up not speaking and you begin to speak again, you go through this whole transition of trying to figure out, it's you go through all these emotions. Am I saying it right? Are they going to accept me for it? And you just go through it. You go through it, and the more you go through it, and the more you start to take back what belongs to you, the stronger you become, the more confident you become, because that's who you are. So, that's what I believe, and that's what I try to help with my children. They're Lakota and also Dakota, so they have to They have to understand where they come from, and largely to learn about where you come from and who you are and your history. It's in a language too. So it's taking the time to do that, and learning the language, because that's where the Lakota thought is. That's where the thought process is. So that's very important to learn. And I always say there was nothing wrong with speaking Lakota. There never was anything wrong with speaking Lakota. So I just want to say that to encourage people that, learn to speak it, and it just helps you understand people too in general. So.
Yeah, very well said. I know personally I've tried, or I've been trying to learn the language, and I was having that feeling too of, oh, I'm not saying it correctly, or what if I embarrass myself? But the more that I see people try, it's so much more encouraging, because I realize they mess up too and they're learning too. So it's reassuring to know that, maybe one day my future children will be able to have a school like this, and even more importantly, on their own reservation and where they come from, because I think that has a lot to do with their identity, just as you said. But I am curious to know, how can families apply to get their student enrolled at the school?
Yeah, so if the families, go to sichangocdc.org, and then once you get onto that site, you'll see this link that's already there to sign up. There's a student application there. You can download it. If you have any trouble, please just email me at sage@sichangocdc.org, and I'll get back and making sure that you're able to get a copy of it. And when you're done with the application, just email it back to me or drop it off at the Redco office. And so that's how we be able to receive your application. But yeah, go there, check it out, and please apply. Please apply. There's 12 positions open, and we're hoping that we can fill all 12 positions.
Is it the parents' responsibility to pay for the tuition, or how does that work?
So there is no tuition in this school. It is a private school, so there won't be tuition. All we ask is that there is a questionnaire on the application to fill out, which will help me get more insight, and so that I can make recommendations. We will have a school board. Our
Awesome.
CPC school board will be helping me select the students.
Awesome, Sage. Thank you so much. It seems like we have so much information now, because I was wondering, I checked it out on the website, and it seems like a really easy process to get your kids signed up. And now that we have even more of a background of what this school is about, really appreciate you being here. Aaron, I want to talk to you first. So now that we have some background on the school and its plans on opening, Aaron, I know people can really appreciate facts and statistics. So can you give us just a general statistics of how many students graduate and move on to secondary education in our current school system?
Yeah, hi. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be on alongside Sage. And before I jump into that, I wanted to congratulate Sage on the school board victory. And yes, so over the summer, summer 2019, I worked with the Leadership for Educational Equity group with an internship with Redco. And as part of that internship, we compiled a whole bunch of different educational and economic data. And so what we found is that for every 100 high school freshmen who start at Todd County, White River, and St. Francis, about 70 of those 100 students will complete high school, and about 21 of those students will enroll in some form of post-secondary education. However, of those 21, only about 5 will graduate with some form of degree within 6 years after their high school graduation. So that means from within 10 years of starting high school, we've only got about 5 of those 100 people with college degrees. And so certainly, as Sage has kind of outlined, there's a need for some different thinking. The current system isn't isn't working for our students, families, and communities. And so I think that that's where a solution like what Sage is talking about really comes in.
Those are actually some really shocking numbers. I never knew that myself. So once I'm able to see it in that aspect, I really have a new perspective about it. How will this new school change those statistics?
Yeah, so I think a big part of what one of the most shocking stats that I came across when putting together this data is around attendance. And you can talk to any of the school administrators, and attendance data is notoriously difficult to find. So we kind of went with a conservative estimate on what our average attendance statistics are for local students. And what that works out to is based on the number of students in school per day. The average graduate will complete high school will have missed almost 2 years of class time due to absences. And so I think, we could sit here and talk for hours about all the different reasons why that is. But I think at the end of the day, creating a school where students are centered and where their identity is valued, and it's a holistic approach. It's not just let's memorize these math facts and what's the difference between a noun and a verb, and it's a lot more of a holistic approach. Those students are going to want to be there, and families are going to want to send their kids to a school like that. And so to me, that's where I think this school can really have a huge difference is getting kids in school and keeping them there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just what you said really motivates me. That would be a big plus if I had children. Yeah, I would definitely want them to go to a school like this. And obviously, community is huge here on the reservation. You hear the word community so often. How does the school plan on implementing partnerships with other programs here on the reservation?
Well, I think maybe that would be a good question for Sage to jump in on. I know, Sage, you mentioned the Boys and Girls Club. And I also know that we also have a large Buffalo project, which is currently being developed. And I think another way that we could potentially see a partnership there is by getting Buffalo meat to students and in the schools. But Sage, is there anything else that you'd want to add as far as community partnerships?
Yeah, for sure. There was, and for this school to be successful, there definitely is going to be partnerships built within and around the community. Definitely with established entities that are already like the Rosebud Sioux Tribes education department, to the child care services, the Lakota language preservation program, even over to St. Francis, with the FACE program. I know they're doing Lakota Immersion there too. And the idea is to have teamwork on what is effective and what is working with teaching language, and then how we can get support from our community members with entities, but also with some of our parents too. Like how do we get them synced up with a lot of the community programs that would help them to be successful in collaborating with us with the school. But yeah, for sure, we with Food for Sovereignty, which is part of the with the CDC, but working with programs to how do we do a lot of in-house services too. So Food for Sovereignty, definitely with the Buffalo, definitely with the Garden, and so we'll be producing some language kits to go with each area, so that kids can contextualize, terminology when they're, harvesting buffalo, or if they're harvesting crops, or even with the health initiative. How do we talk about, what type of language could we use in the area of health and wellness, nutrition, things like that.
Yes, and as you all know, on our previous episode, we got to sit with Sherry Wright, who is a part of Tatanka Funds. So, Aaron, I just wanted to ask you, do you see Tatanka Funds, being helpful in steering this school toward long-term vision and economic development? Do you think Tatanka Funds plays a role in that?
Yeah, I definitely think that a school is obviously a place of learning and a place of growth, and I feel like but with the Three Sisters approach, in creating an ecosystem that where things can work together, I think that over the long term that makes a lot of sense. So for example, one aspect of Tatanka Funds is financial literacy. And so certainly financial literacy is something that could and should be taught to students. And also even with Redco, a partnership, Redco is more focused on business development and things like that, but workforce development and internships and being able to get hands-on skills in a classroom setting is really valuable. So I definitely think that, obviously it's Sichango CDC taking on this work early on, but there's just huge opportunity for partnerships. And then if I could just end on one more statistic from the report that I wanted to mention. So from the report, we did a little bit of analysis on what would happen if those rates that I mentioned at the beginning, what if those aligned with the rest of the state of South Dakota? So what if our graduation rate and our college enrollment rate and college completion rate matched the rest of South Dakota, which I know that our students are perfectly capable of doing? And how could that change the income level for those students? And so what we found is that for each graduating class, we would have an additional 65 high school graduates and an additional 87 college graduates, just if we were to take what we're doing now and match the rest of the state of South Dakota. And what that would mean is an increase in over $2.3 million of earning potential per year, per graduating class. And so, that means you've got people starting businesses, taking on higher paying jobs and all kinds of things. And so to me, seeing numbers like this, it really ties back to that in order to have that, fully functioning economy that we all want to see, it all starts with education. And so, again, just want to commend Sage for all the work that he's done. It might sound like, okay, the system's not working, let's start a school. That's easy to say, but holy crap, is that hard to do. So just want to recognize Sage for all the work that he's put in behind the scenes and getting the show up and going, and congratulations.
Yeah, those numbers are huge, and I feel really hopeful. I feel really good because we've heard about businesses doing well here. We've heard about people finding jobs, but as you said, it all starts with education. And if we have a good school that includes our culture and our values, it just makes me feel so proud and excited. And I just want to thank you both for sitting down with me today. It's really exciting to see that this has been in the works and there's been a lot of background work. And Sage, you really put your heart and soul into this, and it's all finally coming to life. Like, it's actually happening here very soon. Again, thank you for both for being here. The Lakota Immersion School will be accepting applications until June 24th, which is coming up very soon. You can apply to get your student enrolled through the Sichango CDC website. That process is really easy. And also, if you're watching now, don't forget to go to Redco's Facebook page where you can check out more episodes of 7 Gen Voices. We'll see you next time.